Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and this is a very special episode. When you're watching / listening to this, depending upon if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on an audio platform. Regardless, it will be releasing on Christmas Day 2025. We'll actually record this episode a little bit later than originally planned because of some technical issues. So we've actually recorded this already, but there was some technical things and half of the audio disappeared, and that wouldn't have been very helpful to listen to. So we're recording this on the 15th of December 2025. You have probably noticed I use the word we because me, Ben, I do most of the episodes, but I'm also joined by the Everything Podcast's co-host of sorts, Chuck. Nice to speak to you again for what seems to be a yearly tradition. How are you doing?
Good morning to you. No, thanks, Ben, for the lovely introduction. And yes, recording this episode the first time, which ended up being like an hour-long episode. It's probably because we have an idea of it's basically like a run-through. I think that's what we did. It was like a forced run-through, technical issue-wise. So it's a lot of fun. But anyway, no, thanks for having me on. Really cool to do a Christmas special with you, and looking forward to having some chat about some entertainment stuff.
Yeah, so as Chuck just said, it is going to be more of a retro. That's the word, isn't it? Retrospective. That's the word.
Yeah.
The podcast in 2025 and some of the things we've spoken about, and we've actually got a treat in the middle of the episode, which Matt, who animates the episode amazingly, and will never understand any of that. Is we've got a special treat for us in the middle of the episode as well. So please stick around for that, and please continue supporting the podcast in whatever way you can, if that is the audio, if that's the YouTube, or that's just on the socials. And if you follow the Podcast X page, you will get a advanced understanding and warning of what I might be talking about on the channel. But without further ado, let's get started with our 2025 retrospective of the podcast. So, first of all, we're going to talk about Doctor Who and Big Finish together because they're kind of interlinked, really. Now, there will be a bit of timey-wiminess, and you will see why that is in a second. But Doctor Who, obviously, earlier this year finished season 2 with the huge cliffhanger. Warning here, spoilers for season 2, episode 8, The Reality War, which released on the 31st of May 2025, where Ncuti Gatwa regenerated into Billie Piper, and that was it. We didn't know there was no Doctor Who will continue. And then, well, I hope you've watched the episode where I talked about that that's not the case, and it's returning this time next year. So when the Christmas special next year comes out on, we assume, Christmas Day, Doctor Who will be back in the TV form at least, but Big Finish keeps the fire burning.
Yeah.
We don't even know actually if Billie Piper is going to be in the Christmas special next year. We have no information, but obviously it's a year away. Nothing's been filmed or anything, so we'll just have to wait and see, and keep tuned to the podcast where I will be talking about it at some point, I'm sure. But Big Finish, if you don't know what it is, it's an audio company that produces full cast audio dramas and audiobooks, actually, for loads of different franchises. But the one that you'll probably know the podcast for doing is Doctor Who, where kind of, yeah, they have, I think it's about 8 releases a month, so it's about-ish two releases a month.
Yeah.
No, that's not right. 2 releases a week.
That's
the one.
yeah.
Which obviously it is quite a lot of listening. So especially last week, so that was the week of the 8th of December, there was the 8th Doctor box set, so that was a 3-hour set, plus the War Doctor writers, so that was a 6-hour week, whereas this week is, I think it's 4 hours of audio, so it kind of fluctuates on different things, and they've got different release patterns and stuff, and covers pretty much all of the Doctors in it, and no, it does, apart from the 14th and 15th at the moment, but it covers 1 to 13 plus the War and Fugitive Doctors as well. So it is very it basically is a place for you to go and find out what they got up to.
Yeah, this is a good channel for that, by the way. As you guys know that to watch this channel, Ben covers a lot of Big Finish, so this is the place to come for all that news and reviews as far as Big Finish go. I asked you when we did this the first time. So this is a two-part question. One, who's your favorites, maybe top favorites or top three favorites Big Finish doctors? And this can obviously go through to the series as well.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that you haven't watched some of the early ones, so that's not fair. So let's maybe keep it Big Finish. Who's your favorites, like top three Big Finish doctors? And then do you think that with maybe Rose coming back like that and with David Tennant kind of hovering about, do you think that's maybe a story that can tie in together? Because remember, Ncuti churning into Rose is one thing. It's like, oh, are they going to turn her into a doctor? I don't think that's what they do. Probably not the best idea. However, there is a little David Tennant running around as a doctor. So that might be something interesting to put together.
Yeah, so the answer to your first question, as I mentioned in the first time round we recorded this episode, that kind of...
Deja vu.
Yes, it is deja vu for me and Chuck, but won't be for you because you won't hear the first one. But I will always have a bias to the newer doctors, so Christopher Eccleston onwards. But saying that, actually, some of the earlier doctors where I kind of ran through them the first time round. But yeah, top three. The 11th Doctor is up there, definitely. Even and if you've watched any of the Big Finish episodes that I've talked about the 11th Doctor, we've got the 11th Doctor Adventures starting in March next year, so go check out that episode if you haven't already. An episode that I'm going to record in the future, but in your past, is about the 12th Doctor Adventures as well, and basically a limited series for that Doctor, which we've not particularly had at Big Finish before, so that'll be fun. But definitely, I think... so 11th Doctor must be up there, and I think 9 and 13th Doctors as well, because they are doing, and you probably have noticed this from the channel, that they kind of are alternating months. So in December 2025 we've had a 9th Doctor and Rose release, and in January we've got 13 and Yaz, and then it switches and it's up until the midway of 2027. So next year we're going to get 6 releases from 9 and Rose, and the other months will have 6 releases from 13 and Yaz, and there's stories, and the people have noticed that with the credits for the 13th Doctor saying Series 1, is it continuing after that? I'm pretty sure it probably might be. But yeah, onto the TV side now. Yeah, it is very interesting how they left it. Like I watched it live because if you were in the UK, you might remember or not, depending upon if you watched it or not. But they released them. So for season 1, they did it at midnight UK time, and then for season 2 they did it at 8 p.m. Apart from for the reality war, and it's quite obvious why they didn't do that, because of Billy Piper showing up, and we had a cameo from Jodie Whittaker, speaking of the 13th Doctor. So it was very spoilery, should we say. So it was, and as Chuck pointed out, that kind of it was what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of left Doctor Who in a very strange territory, because we've never had a companion's face
as a regeneration
regenerate from in a Doctor's body, we assume. But saying that, if you actually look at the credits, and loads of people online pointed this out, that kind of Billy Piper was credited. It just said introducing Billy Piper, not as the Doctor, or reintroducing Billy Piper as Rose Tyler. It wasn't anything like that, so it was very ambiguous.
They left leaving the fans hanging.
Yeah, and obviously this time next year we'll get those answers. But yeah, it's
interesting to think about. Come up with some. It's interesting that you can come up with some theories and of your own and all that other fun stuff. So. We've all got a year to come up with all these different things that we can think. What about this? What about that? What if this happened? What if that happened? I just think like the most logical one, and it's what I said in the question, is, with David Tennant being about, and then Rose kind of having been with Christopher Eccleston's Doctor Who, that kind of makes the most sense, that she's being a companion, him being a very beloved Doctor. To put them together would be kind of like a fun thing to do, because she was if I'm correct, she was quite a popular companion over the course, of the Doctor Who's. She was a very popular companion. And David Tennant, arguably one of the most popular doctors, aside Matt Smith maybe, and who else would you reckon was a popular doctor?
I think out of the new series generally, without getting into internet discourse where people seem to believe that there's no reason for a woman to be a doctor when the Doctor is a shape-shifting alien that can do anything, and it just so happened that for 60 years, no, 55 years, that's right, that it just so happened that it was a white man that the Doctor was regenerated into. And then obviously we had Jodie. We've got Jo Martin as the fugitive Doctor, which goodness knows where on earth she fits in all of this. And then obviously Ncuti is the first black full-time Doctor, which, to be honest, it shouldn't have taken that long really, but unfortunately that's the way it worked. And it's just definitely Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant and Matt Smith. And you would have noticed I didn't mention David Tennant when we were talking about my favourite Big Finish Doctors, because he is that because we were talking about that. But David Tennant is that busy at the moment that he isn't, that he has done Big Finish before, and should mention that, but he's not done any relatively recently. Really, I think the last one that came out for him would have been 2023.
I was actually just going to ask how long ago was that, probably, and because I do remember you have mentioned it before, but it has been a while, so I haven't seen his face pop up in any of your videos for a while. So I would imagine 2 years. That sounds about right.
Yeah, and obviously Big Finish, as I mentioned the first time round, to try and figure out where they've announced stuff. So, for example, this is a spoiler for, well, it's not particularly a spoiler for me because I knew because it was announced, but they've announced the 12th Doctor Adventures, Run Fast Be Kind, I think the series is called, but that's not released until July and August. But we don't exactly know, we don't know what's happening post February, March and April with the 9th and 13th Doctors, and just goodness knows what else they've got announced. They've got it scheduled to release whenever they announce stuff, and obviously Dark Gallifrey going forward. Obviously I talked about that on the channel previously. That is also, we don't know where that's going, which Time Lords, villainous Time Lords. So even though the Doctors seem to reappear, so we've had, who have we had? This is going to test my memory now. So we've had the Fourth Doctor, the War Doctor, now played by Jonathan Carley, because of the sad loss of Sir John Hurt, who played it originally. And then who else did we have? And then Missy, so that was the 7th Doctor, and then the 8th Doctor for the most recent series, and who knows. I would like for there to be a revival era Doctor in there somewhere, hopefully. So hopefully we get that. It's not just the classic Doctors. As much as classic Doctors are good, it would be nice to have some. But yeah.
Yeah, like a mix of all the Doctors, not combined, but each of them having their own stories, as continuously and consecutively as possible. So you can kind of see, where everyone's stories are kind of going.
Yeah.
It's always fun, especially if you are a fan of Ncuti's or Jodie's or Matt's or David Tennant, Eccleston, any of the guys before.
Yeah.
It's nice to kind of see where each of their stories go, and maybe you love all of them, maybe you love like 8 of them, or maybe whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's, if you have like a particular Doctor that you like to follow, it's always nice to have a story that's continuous in some shape or form. But I'm sure they'll do something, because you said it looks like they might do something next year, June, July, August, around there.
Yeah, so I was actually going to stress that even though out of the revival Doctors, only the 11th and the 12th are not performed by Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, they're the original actors, because back to similar conversation about David Tennant, they're way too busy or might just not want to do it. But for whatever reason.
Yeah, you said House of the Dragon with Matt Smith. I think is obviously keeping him quite busy, I would imagine.
Yeah. But because I recapped a large portion of the 11th Doctor Chronicles, and you wouldn't know it's not Matt Smith, apart from that it says it's not Matt Smith, but it's not that obvious. And we've got Miles Taylor, who has his own YouTube channel, who I watched before the podcast started, definitely, I think so. That kind of is the new 11th Doctor, John Coleshaw, the 12th Doctor, who was made his debut in the Halloween special. So it's like even that kind of lines up. So yeah, they aren't the original actors, but like the little clip. So if you check the episode where I talked about the announcement of the 11th Doctor Adventures, the first question, I think it's called, and there's a little clip of Miles, and it is like you could have Matt Smith and Miles Taylor next to it, and they would speak exactly the same. It's insane, and probably quite
and
similar.
Capaldi's one as well.
Yeah, and then John Coleshaw. So that's the one that kind of I haven't recorded that episode, but by the time this one releases, it has.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's yeah. But Big Finish, I think, is a good thing anyway, because it keeps those stories going. So that if Ncuti does it, and if David Tennant, I'm sure, will come back at some point, even if he's in his 60s and 70s, I'm sure he'll do it. I mean, it's well documented how much of a Doctor Who fan he is, and he's done it before, so it's not like it's a Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi situation where they've not done it before. Which again, I think they will at some point eventually. I think they just want to do more, maybe screen work whilst they can, and then when they get older, because that's the thing about audio, is they don't need to look how they did in 2010 or 2015 or whatever it is. It's very, very different form of things. And obviously we've got loads of Big Finish releases coming up next year. I mentioned Dark Gallifrey there, obviously more 9 Doctor Adventures, more 13, the kind of the reboot of the 11th Doctor at Big Finish, and 12th to a certain extent. So we've got all of that. Fugitive Doctor, we've got Circuit Breakers, which we know very little about, but again, I'll talk about it on the channel when more is announced. But that is kind of that the Big Finish are making a contribution to that, and there's books and all sorts with that. So that's is a little bit of a mind melt sometimes when you have to go, where's this, and this. But it's so Big Finish is continuing. I remember on one of the comments of the videos, and people were asking, and my understanding is that it's like a separate license, so that even though by the time we get to Christmas next year, that's over 18 months since the Doctor's been on TV, that's got nothing to do with the Big Finish stuff. It's just, I think I read that they've got until 2030, so the end of 2030, so that's still another 5 years of audio. So I'm sure we'll have loads of fun stuff with all the different Doctors and all sorts.
Yeah, well, if you know you got 5 years to go, I think you want to push out as much interesting stuff as possible.
Yeah, but
do you think that's something that will be renewed, like a contract that will be renewed?
I'm sure it will, regardless of who's in control by then. I'm sure they will, because basically for a very similar reason, that kind of, I think Bad Wolf, who have produced the last few years of Doctor Who, kind of promised that they'd be annual Doctor Who, not expecting basically for Disney to drag their feet with how they felt about Doctor Who, instead of going, we don't want to renew it, and then we ended up in that situation where we didn't know what was happening for Doctor Who for a long while, and then we did, and hooray, we're not in any kind of weird territory. But yeah,
it's not very expensive though, hey. Sorry to interrupt you. It's not very. I can't imagine that it's super expensive to produce this. So I think that's also a good thing, because the production costs are not exorbitant.
Yeah,
and the return is good. So it just makes sense that something like this could continue quite easily in
Yeah. Well, another thing
terms.
is that they've had Jonathan Bailey, who is now, I don't think Big Finish would even dream of asking him back, but I didn't realise, and I've not listened to actually any of the stories that he's in, but obviously he's in Bridgerton and the Wicked films, and he did it because it's a day. Like, if it's a 1 hour story, so like the 9th and 13th Doctor ones at the moment, and the way the Dark Gallifrey one's being produced, the kind of, it's one day, it's not for an hour, whereas if you think about a film or a TV show, a 40-minute episode takes over a week. And I think that's part of it as well, that it's quite small cast. If you actually look at, apart from like the anniversary ones, where you kind of, whoever had to sort out that scheduling, I think needed to sit in a dark room afterwards, because of how how hard that would be to figure that out. So like Once and Future Back to David Tennant, that was the first one that was recorded during lockdown 3 years before it was released because they, but like Michelle Gomez, who obviously is plays Missy, is normally records for America, but the Christmas release that released two weeks ago, basically to the date that we're recording this, she was in the UK and recorded in the studio. So it's again, it's one of those that you don't necessarily all have to be in the same room. So people like Michelle Gomez and who else is there? Eric Roberts, who plays another version of the Master and all sorts. And obviously during COVID, that they didn't all need to be in the same room. Whereas you can't particularly social distance on a film set because you wouldn't be able to film it properly. But
No.
it's a very similar thing to that. It's
A lot
it's
easier
just
to put together,
yeah,
etc.,
and it's
etc.
well, I wouldn't say it's. I've never done it, so I wouldn't know. But kind of, it's a quicker turnaround time.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like the 11th and 12th Doctor Adventures, which have recently been announced-ish, the 11th Doctor one was recorded in September, and that's out in March, and the 12th Doctor one was recorded in November and is out July and August. If you think about a film, it might be sitting there for think about Avengers Doomsday, that's well enough been filmed earlier on in the year, and then it's out the end of next year. It's
Fast X.
It's less turnaround, less people, and
Yeah, Fast X was originally supposed to be 2025, slated for 2026, and now we're looking at 2027 because they want to bring Paul Walker back in some CGI form. So he's basically the whole premise, and this is not like completely definite, but it seems like they want to bring him back to Los Angeles to be there. So I would imagine it's going to be his brother with some sort of face change, something similar to what they did in the 7th one. So but I mean, if you look at the turnover of that's now been in production and shooting and so on for the last how many, like we're talking years now. So you're talking about like a 6-month turnaround, which is very quick for a story and a big finished product to be out. Where movies like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I'm sure you saw the last one of that, if I stand corrected. Have you seen that?
The second one, yeah.
Yeah, so that left obviously on a cliffhanger, but how long ago was that? It's long.
Yeah.
Ages. So, and that's also something similar. Well, it's not similar to Big Finish in the sense of like, but it's a person recording something, but now because they have to add visuals to that, that's where that gets very complicated. And the visuals obviously in Spider-Man are insane. The way they put that together is magic. So I really love the way it looks. The story is good, and it's no wonder the movie did so well. So, but yeah, if you're talking about like MCU, DC, I think that's a pretty cool segue to maybe jump into those.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of what you do on your channel. Spider-Man being obviously a Sony property, but still part of the MCU, of course. So Spider-Man Brand New Day, which is expected to be released 2026, and Avengers Doomsday. So that seems to be something quite exciting on the movie front, at least. And then you were mentioning the Disney Plus series that were coming out as well.
Yeah, so obviously if you're not aware that since 2021, the Marvel have also been releasing series on Disney Plus because that's now where the home is. So if you don't catch it in cinemas, there is available now on Disney Plus, not straight away, but a couple of months after. So, for example, the most recent MCU film, The Fantastic Four: First Steps, is now on there. I watched it a bit earlier because I had it on digital, but it was there's stuff like that. So we've got, what have we got next year now? This is going to test my memory.
Vision
so we've
Quest.
got Wonder Man at the end of January.
Correct.
Then we've got Daredevil Born Again. I think season 2 of that. Obviously, season 1 was this year, and I covered a couple of the episodes of that. Season 2 from March, and then we've got Vision Quest next year, X-Men 97 in the summer of next year, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man season 2 autumn next year, well, fall if you're in America, but yeah, I think that, and obviously as Chuck mentioned, Avengers Doomsday at the end of the year, obviously that not being a TV show, but there is still, that even though there's only 2 films next year in comparison to like the 3 that were this year, Disney Plus will keep you entertained, and I think Marvel have got better at spreading it out rather than kind of like 2021 back to the year to when MCU series were on just pretty much every week there was a Disney Plus show. Like that year there was barely a week between them. I think they did get better from then, and 2022 onwards, I think they kind of went, we can't have 5 shows out a year.
That's too much.
Well, saying that, actually, next year kind of is a little bit more than, it's kind of similar, but I think they're spreading them out a bit more now rather than...
Yeah, well, phase 1 to 3 was about 50 or so in total. And then the rest up until now have been almost 100. So that's quite a bit of a difference as far as the amount of shows they took on, which I don't know. It seemed like they're taking on a bit more than they could actually do.
Yeah.
Which was no good. I mean, everyone, there's something like a key point people were mentioning about it. But I'm glad they've gone back to like, let's try and make something as epic as possible and not rush a release just because. So I think that's a better stance to take. And then obviously tightening up budgets a little bit seems to be on the cards potentially. Not for Doomsday, obviously, because I think the Russo brothers and RDJ alone are $100 million. So we were chatting about this the first time we recorded, and I estimated this to be around 800, I think I said. 800 million, I think is going to be the budget. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I think I'm kind of in the right space. Maybe, do you reckon it might be a bit less, a bit more? What do you think?
Well, but back to what we were talking about with Big Finish and kind of the reason why they produce them as regularly as they are is because they're small cast, whereas obviously Avengers Doomsday is the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
It's, remember the full-on, I was working in a school as part of my uni course the day that was, and I remember I was waiting for the bus and I just popped on my phone because obviously in a school environment you're not allowed your phone for obvious reasons, but I switched on and went, oh, what's this, as I was waiting for the bus, and yeah, it was, and then it was every 15 minutes, it was like 6 hours long, and if you people have suggested that that's not the full list either, and then you've got to kind of
that was
double that.
I think that was the confirmed one, I believe.
Yeah.
Because there still was more to be confirmed. And I think comparing the chair list to the list that came out, there are extras. There's definitely extras on the ones that weren't on the
And it could have
chairs.
been that they didn't want to spoil that was meant, because especially in some of the shows and films, they'll go, this character is returning in whatever it is. And maybe they don't want to spoil that. So yeah, we'll just wait and see. And obviously you've got Secret Wars the year after, so you kind of, for the 2 movies, you're then doubling that budget. So that is, but obviously Marvel trusts the Russo brothers because obviously they did Infinity War and Endgame and brought them back for these 2 Avengers films as well. But yeah, it's just going to be, and back to what we're talking about releases, obviously the DCU is this year kind of been the proper start of it. So obviously towards the end of last year, the very beginning of this year, we had season 1 of Creature Commandos, which is an animated show, only 7 episodes, about 20-ish minutes each, so nice and digestible. And then obviously in July we had Superman, which I recapped on the channel, and then we had Peacemaker season 2, which I think it was like 3.5 years since season 1 and 2, but obviously that's because James Gunn is now co-chair and CEO and goodness knows what other titles of DC Studios now, and had to rejig a few things around to sort that out. But into next year, we've got it seems to be more quiet towards the start of the year than we thought. So we've got Lanterns, Supergirl, Clayface, possibly maybe Creature Commanders season 2, depend upon because it's been renewed. We don't know quite when that's releasing. I would probably guess if we go by a 2-year program, then that is towards the end of next year. So we'll just have to wait and see. Whereas The MCU obviously is content throughout the year, not necessarily being right at the end. So it could be that we have Supergirl, and then we have Lanterns in between. Then we have Clayface, which obviously is quite it's all at once. And then you don't have anything the rest of the year, which obviously the MCU aren't doing. So it's just
Authority.
Just one of
I think
those.
the Authority might. I think that might also happen next year. It looks like it.
Well, yeah, we haven't
Slated.
heard anything about that because obviously at the beginning
it's
of
quiet.
2023,
It's not really
which
said
feels,
anything. That's why I said slated. Because I don't know that would come out, and also Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
But they like that. They said or later. So it says 2026 or later. So I reckon the or later might actually be what they're going to do, especially with the merger or with the buying of Warner Brothers. I think some of these have sort of been thrown for a loop, maybe potentially in this. I wouldn't say merger. That's the wrong word. Purchase of Warner Brothers from Netflix. So the Authority Swamp Thing, I would bet that there would be a 2027 thing now because of this, potentially.
Yeah. And obviously we've got to remember that James Gunn is now busy or is going to get busy with obviously the Superman sequel, Man of Tomorrow, which releases July 9th, I think it is, 2027. So
interesting.
obviously, and that's where the Supergirl trailer, which has released for us and you, obviously.
Yes,
so,
I've seen it.
But when we
What did you
recorded this
think?
the first time around, it hadn't.
No.
I think it was good. I think loads of people were interested. Oh, this is the first DCU project without any involvement for James Gunn. I was like, well, that's kind of not the point. It's a Supergirl film. No, I watched the Supergirl show that was part of the Arrowverse a long time ago now, but so I am aware of that character, similar to Superman. I know who they are, whereas I'm really interested with the Lanterns because I have no idea who they are and what they have. My information is, they have green rings. That's about it, and it's going to be maybe a bit more grounded. So kind of stuff like that is more interesting. And Creature Commanders, I had no idea about that and who they were and all sorts. So it's it's more that. But yeah, obviously that's in at the end of June next year. So obviously still a little bit of a wait, but people have been saying online that DC aren't scared of Marvel anymore, but that's because they've actually taken some time to focus on it rather than go, we'll just release this, and then because basically James Gunn and Peter Safran, the other co-CEO of DC Studios, were being kind of, because everything was being cancelled basically. If you look back to the Arrowverse, so Superman and Lois was meant to have was a contract for 6 or 7 seasons. They only did 4 because of the Superman film. Yeah. But then you can't blame James Gunn for that because it's wanting to bring everything all together, and a Superman film is going to possibly do better than a TV show and all of that. Whereas that's where I kind of have a difference of thing. Endings and cancellations are obviously 2 very different things. But an ending is, so if I was to ever end the podcast, and when Matt ends this episode, I think I may have nearly given him a heart attack, but I'm not. But if that time ever does come, that would be a creative decision. Whereas Matt going, or YouTube emailing me and going, we're taking your podcast off YouTube, that is a cancellation, isn't it? They're stopping the content being made, aren't they? That way, so that's obviously a very big difference. And we'll touch on that a bit later in the episode about something specific. But yeah, so what are you most interested in?
You said Supergirl. Sorry, I'll get to that question. I just want to jump back to something. You said Supergirl not really involving James Gunn too much. Am I correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so it's not been... So obviously Superman and Man of Tomorrow, assumably, has been written and directed by James Gunn, and he oversaw it, obviously, from writing it to it being released. Whereas this, he's not written it, he's not directed it, he's not... being involved with it too much, I wouldn't think. I think he's kind of taken the Kevin Feige of the DCU job, where basically he oversees bits and pieces, and he'll be more involved with something else. I think like the big ones, so like Superman and Peacemaker, and obviously Man of Tomorrow, which people have said Peacemaker may appear in, which would be nice because it's James Gunn basically confirmed there won't be a season 3, but the characters will return in some form. So that's the next one. So
I think that was what Kevin Feige did like really well. is designate talented people to run certain projects. I think that's what made him as effective as he was for especially up until Endgame. That's kind of why Kevin Feige shined. And I think James Gunn trying to take on everything by himself. And I understand like you kind of don't want anything to slip through the cracks, but sort of trusting people to go, you know what, like here you go, like make something epic. Because he is the CEO after all. And that's his job, is to delegate and say, okay, you've been writing some really good stuff, write for this. You've directed something really good, direct for this. So I think that's maybe a good idea on his part, where he can step back and, fix like make sure everything's running smoothly, and then get involved where he has to. I think that's a very smart choice on his part. That's just my interpretation of it, but I think it's a very, very smart choice on his part, because to try and take on everything, as you know, it can get super overwhelming if you've got so much to do and very little time in the day, or what feels like little time when you have more to do. Like, I wish I had an extra 12 hours today, but that's not the case. So I'm very happy that he's doing it, and it also just helps the brand, I think, where there's a whole bunch of different people, and he can just sort of, like I say, step in when he needs to. Like, okay, listen, this is kind of where we want to go. This is what we want to do. This is kind of what I need from you. And then just trust the people that are in charge of those projects to actually bring out something that's really good. I think that's a very good move on his part. So yeah. But you were asking what am I looking forward to for the rest of the year? Is that what you were going to ask?
Kind of. DCU and MCU next year, what are you most looking forward to?
I would say I'm interested to see Clayface. And it's not, I know it's, now as you see, everyone's going to think I'm a horror nut again. Because this is like a body horror-esque film with a Gotham villain. It's going to kind of be a horror. So, yeah, I might have to hear what Chuck thinks of it, because I don't think that'll be one for me, possibly. Even though the kind of, for the MCU, and people might think I've lost it now, that I've kind of watched. So I wasn't old enough to watch the MCU the first time around, because I think it was like 4 when the first project released, which obviously, being 4 and watching Iron Man, probably not the best idea. But I think it was during lockdown I rewatched it all. And then obviously from Phase 4 onwards, I think I watched it live. And obviously I've covered some of those on the podcast as well in previous episodes, so go check those out. But yeah, it was just... obviously Clayface is... And I think James Gunn has made it no surprise how he feels about the Marvel films. They're very similar in tone, whereas I think he's going... Like, even Superman and Supergirl, which aren't as different as, say, Superman and Clayface, but they are slightly different because of... it's based on a comic book where basically... Kara, who is Supergirl, loses her planet, whereas obviously Clark, Superman, doesn't. He lands on Earth in Kansas and Smallville and is brought up lovingly, and it's very different. That obviously we saw, spoilers for Superman here, Supergirl, obviously Kara did appear at the end of Superman, which was a nice surprise, but and Crypto, who we actually know is in Supergirl, so that'll be nice, because Crypto is a blooming maniac dog. If you've not seen Superman, he doesn't listen properly, and is he's a very strong, naughty, cute dog. Like, I think that maybe will sum it up quite well. Naughty and cute, but and both can be right at the same time. He's very cute, but he's very naughty. Definitely doesn't listen to Superman when he's speaking. But like the horror-esque stuff that I was saying, like it's obviously I've covered that, and that's the last time I spoke about it. I want to clarify, I'm not just into horrors, guys. I promise. My favorite is action and comedy, or the mix of both, and some fantasy stuff for sure. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, etc. So the horror stuff just happens to be something I like too, but it's not my favorite genre. But it is definitely something I'm not offended by, and I do like. So Clayface, definitely something I'm interested in seeing. Supergirl, I want to see what they want to explore, because they say they're going to go for a darker tone in this. So I'm not sure what that means exactly, or what tone they're setting. Because it seems like she's a bit of an alcoholic to some degree, maybe going through a tough time, having lost her planet, etc. And this is her way to deal with that, sure. So that makes sense. And then maybe her story arc is her getting out of that and becoming a superhero that she was meant to be, kind of thing. It's kind of, where you look at Tony Stark, a misogynist, womanizer, alcoholic, and then he lands up completely being selfless, a father, and saving the whole planet, which is very much not... If you had given him that glove at the very first Iron Man, there's no ways he would have been flicking any, doing that, the flick to save the world. I don't believe that for a second. I think that whole arc of his led up to that, and all the stuff that he had been through, and the man he became. And I think maybe Supergirl is going to sort of be like that story arc of her, not being the best person in the beginning and kind of getting to the place where she's supposed to be, and showing flaws. And I hope they do that, show her flaws, show her as being not a perfect person, and really messing up and doing all the wrong things, and then kind of getting to this realization that you have this power to do stuff for good, and eventually get to that place and have a nice story arc for that. It's like that hero's journey. It's a story as old as time, and it's always a nice one to watch for me. For me personally, I think if they stick to that recipe, this will be good. Do you think it's going to do better than Superman, though?
That's
a tough question.
Superman did a lot better than
You're welcome.
I think we all thought. But yeah, I had absolutely no idea. Who knows?
We'll have to wait and see.
I try not to.
I think it'll be about the same.
Kind of things.
It might be about the same.
Yeah, it would make sense.
It could be if it does better, that would be crazy. Because Superman is generally, even comic books is generally more popular than Supergirl. That's just fact.
Yeah.
But now on the box office side of things, maybe people be drawn to her sort of ragtag vibes, and sort of the way she is in the beginning, something like a relatable person, and a superhero being relatable and then going on to be a hero. I think maybe that could be a draw. But yeah, only time will tell. But yeah, so that's as far as the DC goes. The Authority, I don't really know much about it, to be honest, so I'm not even going to comment on that. But with regards to MCU that I'm looking forward to, I would say Vision Quest. I know Spider-Man and Avengers Doomsday is an obvious choice. Spider-Man is my favorite MCU character, hands down. But Vision Quest is something I'm interested to see, because obviously there's a 3-part story. It's obviously... what's the first one with it's WandaVision, and then there was the one with the witch lady and
Agatha all along.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I've just hit blanks. Apparently I need more coffee today. And then Vision Quest being the trilogy of that story arc kind of thing. So and they've left it for a very long time, because Vision left in WandaVision and you haven't really seen or heard of him since. So I really want to see what's happening with him. He's really an intriguing character for me. So that's something I'm interested to see, very much so. And Spider-Man, of course, that's a no-brainer. I think the Punisher, Daredevil, there's 1 or 2 characters I won't spoil, but I think I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some fun characters introduced there. And then I'm hearing a lot of chatter about Avengers Doomsday with regards to Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, which is very concerning for me. If they do that, that's a bold move. I don't know if you heard, it seems like Doom wants to basically eradicate, and this is all just hearsay, so don't take my word for it, but it seems to be the chatter is that Doom is trying to get rid of anchor beings, and Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is one of them. And it seems like he might actually get him, which would be a monster move, is to basically kill a Spider-Man on screen. If that lands up being true, I mean, would you think that's a good move? Would you think that's like, are you guys crazy? What are you doing? What do you feel about that?
Well, kind of back to what we were talking about before about Doctor Who Big Finish. A spin-off has recently been released, and with the episodes that came out yesterday for us in the UK, that there was, I'm not going to spoil, but a main character does die. I'm not going to say who or how, but a main character does die, and I was like, that's brave. Considering, but yeah, a very similar thing that maybe there is a reason for it, and we've got to remember that in MCU and Marvel and DC, that kind of just because someone dies, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Look, they did a Black Widow film after she sacrificed herself to get the Soul Stone back or whatever it was called. So
and that was like a prequel to Endgame as well. So. Yeah, it was after the fact. I would have liked to see a Black Widow movie before Endgame. I think that would have been rad. It was okay that it was afterwards. I didn't mind that, but I think it would have been a little bit more tasteful with it being before, because you kind of know she's given up her life, and then Tony did as well. So that's going to be fun. And then we were also chatting about potential for if that's something that they're going to do, which I mean it's the same as killing Iron Man off if you think about it. It's as impactful, especially the people who love Tobey Maguire, me being one of them. Them doing that would be a monster blow. And then also the fact that maybe the good characters or the good versions of themselves are fighting the bad versions of themselves, like Captain Hydra and Captain America having a go at each other. Iron Man, Doctor Doom, all these sort of alternate universe characters kind of all fighting. So it's like bad Avengers versus good Avengers kind of thing. So that might be something that they could potentially lean into. I don't say they will do it, but that would be an interesting, kind of story to put together. It would be a nightmare to do it properly, but it could be a fun segue. And like especially the main characters. I think if like the first Avenger characters, I don't know if they do a bad Thor. I don't know how they do that, but I'm just talking about like, for example, Captain America, Iron Man, and maybe who else like would be interesting, like a Hulk, adjacent or something to that effect, like just a bad version of like the main seven, I think, or like something like their counterpart. So it doesn't have to be exact look-alike, but something like their counterpart that they could fight. Might be an interesting way to do this. But who knows? I think it's we can come up with as much theories as we want, and I can tell you now, their trailers are going to throw you off the scent completely, as they do, especially with the Avengers movies. They like to do that, because I had no clue going into Infinity War what was going to happen. I thought it would just be cool, fighting Thanos, yay, and then it landed up being this blip, and all the characters disappear, and like that's how the movie ends with the bad guy winning, basically. And I'm like, what? What is going on here? So yeah, that movie threw me for a loop.
It's a two-part film.
Yeah, exactly.
That's essentially what happens. So we could be looking at a very similar situation here. That
Doomsday.
That Doctor Doom obviously
and Secret Wars
does the same. Yeah, into Secret Wars, and he's conquered not even the universe. It's more than that, isn't it? It's the multiverse. Which then is very confusing.
Russo brothers are good with that. Like it's sort of that two-part thing. I mean, they did very well with Infinity War and Endgame. So, look, the movie's in good hands. Similar. The movie's in good hands, I believe. It's definitely going to make its money back. Not depending on their budget. Like that movie's going to make money. Just it's an Avengers movie. It will. It will definitely make money. Whether or not it's going to break Endgame's thing, who knows? But there's no ways that movie doesn't make 1.5 at least. But if the budget is going to be 800 million, like I think it might be, 1.5 is not going to cut it. So if they spend 800 to make this movie, they need at least like 2.2, 2.5 around there. I wouldn't say to break even, to make a decent profit, like a profit that's, you'd be happy with. So it's quite a big ask, but it can do it. People like Avengers. I do. I'm a sucker for an Avengers movie. I've watched every single one of them at the cinema. So, yeah. Were you old enough to watch the first one at the cinema?
No.
Oh,
So I
bummer.
vividly remember watching Endgame in the cinema.
Yeah.
I think that's it, Marvel movie wise, apart from Deadpool and Wolverine as well. But apart from those, especially nowadays, back to what we were talking about before with Disney Plus now, putting them on relatively quickly, not like how they used to, where it would basically be a month and 6 weeks ish, and then you could watch it at home, where it kind of got to the point where it's like, well, I may as well wait. It's only 6 weeks. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't tend to watch films, and I can't remember if we did it. I know we spoke about it last time. I can't remember if we recorded it, kept it in the episode or not. But we were saying that kind of if you're streaming a film at home, you can pause it if you're not feeling well or you've got somewhere else to be or whatever. It's you don't have to watch it a 2.5 minutes, especially Endgame, 3 hours long. That's a long time to be in a cinema, isn't it? Whereas at home you could even spread it across days or even a week if you wanted to. So
you can use the facilities, you can get the amenities you want, and all you have to do is push pause. And obviously because of the systems, I mean, technology is getting cheaper. That's just a fact. Home TVs are getting bigger and bigger. Sound's getting louder and more clear and more effective at sounding amazing. So, I mean, instead of having someone next to you that potentially is just rude and, talking to their friends on their phone during a movie or, silly stuff. Especially when it's a movie that you like. Because, I mean, if you went into Avengers Doomsday and you really wanted to focus and then you have people doing all these silly things, it kind of, everyone says, oh, that's the movie experience. Not really. Like, that's an annoying experience for me, being an older man. I want to go watch a movie and it's like everyone must kind of be respectful and stuff, and that's how I think it should be, but that's not always reality, unfortunately. But I think that's why even since COVID though, like if you look at like the movie going experience has kind of started dwindling since then, because people are forced to be at home, and then you're potentially forced to get a better speaker or better TV or whatever the case is. And I kind of think now, especially with Netflix buying Warner Brothers, they're very much going to obviously focus on the streaming side. Of course, they're going to do movie releases, but I think those 45, 30, and then 15, those release dates at theaters to get to Netflix, that time is going to shorten quite drastically. And with them taking on Warner Brothers, you're going to have all these IPs and properties that are going to go to theater and very quickly to streaming. So we were actually talking about like the future of theaters, and I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's good. It's a good look at the moment. I don't believe that theaters will last forever, especially with the way the world's going, technology, and like I said, good home systems. The fact that you can just pause it and get yourself a cold drink or a soda or whatever, and come and sit and carry on watching, push pause or push play and carry on watching the movie. So I think that might be, especially now with the acquisition of Warner Brothers with Netflix buying them out. I think that's going to go rapid pace into that direction. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think I might be onto something potentially?
Yeah, because I don't go to cinemas very often, so I wait
Same.
and for it to come on shoot, which obviously is part of the problem a little bit. But I kind of am like, I can't be bothered. Like, it's not common knowledge by now. I don't drive at the moment, so for me to go to a cinema, that's a bus ticket each way plus the cinema ticket. Whereas, I might have to pay a bit more when it comes on digital, but if I'm subscribing to like Disney Plus or Netflix or wherever or Paramount, wherever it ends up being put on, it's it's just on there and it's just included in the subscription price. You don't have to pay any extra for it. So
you watch it whenever you want,
to get
at the comfort of your own home,
well,
comfy couch, amenities, toilets, like etc. Like you can do it whenever and however you want to. And I think it's starting to look a lot more attractive. I do love the cinema though. I enjoyed it growing up as a kid. My dad used to take me a lot. I loved it. Good memories. But just realistically, I don't see it as a thing, 10, 15 years from today. I don't see that it's going to last long term, because we were chatting off air that the last movie we'd actually gone to see in the theaters was Deadpool Wolverine.
Which was obviously well over a year ago at this point. Yeah, so it's one of those type things. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Now it's time for that special treat that we spoke about at the start of the episode, and that is Matt, who animates all the fantastic episodes, has actually written us a special song and created a song, because as much as being an amazing animator and having to drink coffee to get through however many episodes, so you'll remember not that long ago there was a couple of episodes released a day because of some technical issues, but yeah, I think Matt needed to go into a dark corner after that.
Yeah, we should make this episode longer just so he can finish his coffee finally. Break his coffee machine.
Yeah. But so here is created by our very own Matt. Here is Jingle Bells. Hope you enjoy it.
Dashing through the snow on a one-horse open sleigh, over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride, and soon Miss Fanny Bright was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. He got into a drifted bank, and we got upset. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. What fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, the story I must tell. I went out on the snow, and on my back I fell. A gent was riding by in a one-horse open sleigh. He left us there, eyes sprawling light, but quickly drove away. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. What fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Now the ground is white, going while you're young. Take the girls tonight and sing this sleighing song. Just get up Bobtail Bay, 240 as his speed. Hitch him to an open sleigh and crack, you'll take the lead. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. What fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Yeah.
So that was Jingle Bells from Matt. Thank you for creating that, especially for this Christmas special, which obviously is a longer episode than usual, and obviously me and Chuck don't speak very often, but we have talked about maybe doing it as audio exclusive so that Matt doesn't end up having to cry himself to sleep with animating goodness knows however many episodes, and that way that you'll get something extra that if you are listening, it means that and obviously you will have noticed that the episodes don't match, and that has been done on purpose. That isn't just me and Matt going making mistakes. It's been done on purpose so that if you don't like the episode that's been animated that day, you should like the episode that is being released on audio platforms and vice versa. And obviously there's nothing stopping you from, if you liked the audio version, of course you can watch the video version with extra bits and pieces, which obviously you won't get from the audio. And obviously I operate the Spreaker site where kind of it distributes it to all the audio platforms very differently. It is kind of, so as soon as I record the episodes, they go on there, obviously, for this episode, because, spoiler alert, me and Chuck aren't in the same location, but not even in the same country. So it'd be not quite the same, but normal episodes. And even Chuck, thank you for sending your extra episodes as well. So they're now on Spreaker as well. So thank you for doing that. But yeah, on to what I consider one of the pillars of the podcast. We've talked about the other three being Doctor Who / Big Finish, DC and Marvel, and the fourth one, spoiler alert, is Neighbours, which when we recorded it the first day round, the last week of episodes hadn't been released. Obviously, when we recorded this on the 15th of December, they have. I'm not going to kind of go into too many spoilers because there is an episode talking about that, but it finishes quite open-endedly to the point where there are various routes that if the show was to come back in some form, that it would be there are various ways of doing it. It's not it wouldn't be, say, Neighbours. Possibly it could be called something different. And even the executive producer suggested that maybe, as we were talking before Big Finish about lower cast numbers, that maybe they do that and alter it. It's basically split the cast in half and do shorter seasons so it's not as expensive. And yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I think I said this the first time round, that I've had this thought that on Christmas Day they might just announce something. They could have even announced it between when we're recording this and when it's coming out. It is unlikely, but it is possible. So yeah, there's been loads of social media stuff that they've put out thanking all the fans, because they kind of the cast and crew basically have thanked the fans for these extra 2 years that we didn't think we'd get, because there was a finale 3 years ago that I didn't get to watch that live because I was away at the time, so I had to wait a week. But because I was on a campsite, I didn't get spoilt because I was basically off grid. So yeah, it was
very beautiful last episode, by the way.
Yeah, and obviously, as I spoke about in the finale reaction, which please go check that out if you haven't already, because it is, I was saying to Chuck before we started recording this episode that I could have gone, that could have been a half an hour episode easily if I wanted to, but I tried to stop myself, stop Matt from having a mental breakdown. So yeah, it is, and it's very open-ended, and some people don't like that. I think it's a great idea to kind of keep your options open, basically, and go, well, if they done it a bit more like a closed, like ended the show properly, like there was rumours the first time around that maybe they were going to blow up the street, which obviously meant the show couldn't come back at all, which obviously, thankfully, they didn't do, because we got an extra 2 and a bit years. And actually, the reboot or the new chapter of Neighbours is kind of where the podcast, especially when it became daily, was kind of quite helpful to have that kind of constant things. And as I said in that Neighbours finale reaction, that I do want to kind of revisit that, because it was a huge part of the channel, that even if Neighbours doesn't return in any form, which, as sad as it would be, a show for 40 years, and I think I may have made this point in that episode, that a show for 40 years, Neighbours and Doctor Who, you don't have shows like that where they kind of are on and off, and Neighbours came back when it was thought it was dead, and obviously it's died a second or third time technically, and Doctor Who, when it ended in 1989, who would have thought it would have come back and had another 20 years and all the Big Finish stuff and all of that. So it is quite similar to Doctor Who in that sense, that I think it will continue in some form. I've always thought that maybe a YouTube series or something, which obviously, again, isn't extremely hard to make, and yet it might not be a perfect way around it, but surely something's better than nothing, rather than kind of the show ending, because yeah, it did feel, especially that last week, it was, and the producers said that it was quite rushed. He would have wished he had an extra week to wrap it up, because those 4 episodes aren't particularly connected, really, because they're all quite standalone. I think the producer kind of had a list of what have we got to do before the last episode, and was ticking them off, but some people, didn't like those.
Yeah, but Jackie Woodburn was great. That last piece, she plays Susan Kennedy.
Yeah, so obviously
she was great. That last little monologue really hit home. I haven't watched a lot of the Neighbours episodes. some of the earlier stuff actually. So I'm familiar with it to a certain degree. You wouldn't even had to watch the whole show. And I was chatting to you off air about this for that to hit home. So if you had been watching, I can only imagine the impact it would have had. If you enjoy the show, of course, that little piece at the end, sort of finalizing everything, and where are you home, very beautifully written. So it was nice. It was very nice the way it ended, and it was done so good. The way that the camera was swiveling to all the right people and the right sort of lighting for a particular, we're saying something here and this is how it's written, and how everyone was set up. It was very, very nice.
Yeah. And obviously people have moaned about it being a very different finale. They did bring Kylie Minogue and Jason Donovan and Guy Pearce back again. But
I saw that,
as
actually.
the producer pointed out, the idea of doing that would be insane, because there is no way, I wouldn't think that even if they asked, they probably wouldn't. I don't know. Guy Pearce was a very different situation, because obviously he came back for the reboot for a few scenes. They were actually the first scenes filmed for the new run that ended up being another 460 episodes that we never thought would exist. So who knows what the future holds, essentially, is what I'm saying. But if you do want a bit of Neighbours fix, obviously I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do it on the podcast yet, but I will. But there is a designated Neighbours podcast featuring actually some of the cast themselves. So it's called Midnight with Takamati. Takai Honda, who played David. Spoiler alert, David did die during the reboot. That was kind of one of the sadder episodes as well, with the finale. But and Matt Wilson, who left the show on a more positive note, actually alive, as Aaron Brennan. But yeah, as I spoke about in that episode, I've watched the show for 10 years-ish, because obviously there was a year and a bit where it wasn't on the air, similar to how Doctor Who is at the moment. But yeah, it's just, it was sad, and it kind of, I realised that it didn't quite hit me, because I knew that episodes were still coming out, that even though filming had stopped nearly 6 months ago. It was only today, because we're recording this on a Monday. It's very strange not waking up and watching an episode. It was very, very strange. And over the weekend, it was a bit, like, it actually hit me a little bit, which I wasn't kind of anticipating either. It was like, ooh, wow, what's this? Because I'm not one of those people that tends to kind of think about that kind of stuff. It's just it's just
well, it's well written enough for you to really think about it. That's when writing is good, that's the kind of thing that would happen, is like the emotional attachment. Like with a lot of the stuff we've been speaking about today, like with the MCU and Endgame, that was so good because it was so well written to get to that final story. Tony flicking his fingers, all these character arcs kind of joining into one place. Avengers assemble, beat Thanos. Tony has to give his life for everybody, and it hits hard because obviously you know all these characters, you've seen what they've gone through, and etc. And the Neighbours one is, I feel like the same thing, because you get to know all these characters, you get to know the Robinsons and the Kennedys and all that stuff, and there's a lot more characters, there's tons. It's just mentioning the ones I know, but like those are people that you kind of build a bond with and find out who they are, and their what do you call it, their motivations and all that kind of stuff behind the scenes. So yeah, it's definitely a nice thing to when it's written well, then that's when it strikes a chord. I think that's, if you're not really that person who kind of gives that a lot of thoughts, the fact that you've said that it does means that it was written even better than anticipated.
Yeah, but yeah, it's still, as far as we know, it's all available on Amazon in some format, on YouTube as well. So I am revisiting a few of them and watching the odd episode or stuff, because as Chuck, as you mentioned, it's 9,360 something episodes. Yeah. That is a long thing, whereas even the MCU is nowhere near that. It's a couple of, not a couple, but 2-hour movies, not 40 years of episodes. It's where it was 5 days a week. Now they then brought it down to 4 for the the new chapter. But yeah,
Well, if you
yeah,
push,
that
if you
is
push
kind of-
really hard, you could probably finish this by the time you're 35, 30. You know, if you could start it
Yeah,
from
yeah,
right
it's-
at the beginning, but it's going to be a lot of dedicated hard work, and I think you might finish in about a couple of years, maybe a decade or so.
yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's yeah, just one of those. But yeah, it's please go check out my neighbour's reaction for more information
live.
on that. And obviously, yeah, and as I said, I'll try and cover it again in some form because it is a huge part of the podcast. Actually, speaking of the podcast, obviously this year the podcast actually went through a few stages. Obviously, daily episodes as it was the entirety of last year and a bit of the year before, 2.5 years of daily episodes. Because actually Matt obviously animated the episode, suggested it to me the first time, and I was a bit like, "Are you insane?" Nicer way than that. And then I kind of wrote back and went, "Actually, that isn't a bad idea," because as long time watchers of the podcast from season 1 will notice that the podcast was releasing very irregularly. It was every month or so. It was like a monthly episode. I wasn't even doing weekly episodes at that point. It was, yeah, and then kind of slowly became more used to the idea. Daily episodes for 2.5 years. Obviously this year, me and Matt trialed the 2 episodes a day, but it got to a point where it wasn't sustainable. I was then got a new job, as I've mentioned on the podcast several times, so it was not sustainable. And if I'd kept going, the podcast might not still exist, to be honest, because it was becoming too difficult and too stressful. Whereas 1 episode a day is more than enough. And obviously now we've got the short, so a big thank you to Matt for doing that. And obviously there's the social media side as well, where obviously X is where I repost things, and normally if I've reposted it, that normally means I'm going to talk about it on the podcast. So if you want like a bit of a spoiler of what I'll be talking about, then please follow the podcast X. Obviously we have an Instagram, a TikTok, obviously we have a Spotify now, and all audio platforms as well.
Go follow there.
As well. So, yeah, follow on them all if you want. If
Do it.
and if not, just however you can support is very much appreciated, so that we can do things like this. Where even though it's the second time round for us, it's a very nice thing to do, and for the podcast to continue in different ways. And I definitely think that this year the podcast has changed in not only in that it's changed form. Like I've said this to Matt on multiple occasions, the podcast I don't think is ever going to end. It's just going to change.
Yeah.
Perfect example, going from ever so often to daily being the most extreme example of that. But even the introduction of the socials and all that side is, it's very different. And the podcast will hopefully continue. And I hope that you all enjoyed the episode. Obviously this bumper long episode on Christmas Day, the 25th of December. And speaking of Christmas, Chuck, what are you up to today when this is released? Obviously not the day we're recording this.
Yes, so I'll be hanging out with my wife, my auntie, and my cousin and her husband. So I'll be hanging out with them, and then a few days after that, I'll be hanging out with my kids going into New Year's, so that's going to be a lot of fun, and my wife as well. So we're going to be spending New Year's together. So from Christmas to New Year's, that's basically the plans. And of course, too much food. So that's kind of what I'm up to.
Yes. Yeah, definitely too much food. Now, obviously, I'm working a bit over Christmas. Don't worry, I'm not working. I'm actually quite lucky. I've got Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and we have a bank holiday in the UK after Christmas Day, so I'm off that as well. I'll have a couple of days where I don't even need to think about anything else apart from enjoying Christmas with my mum and my brother, my mum's partner as well. So it's going to be nice as
Sounds
well.
good.
But yeah, obviously we should mention that if people have just nearly had panic attacks about the podcast won't be changing over Christmas. Obviously, this is a special Christmas episode, but we're back to normal from tomorrow. Normal length episodes, as Matt will be very relieved to hear. Not a week's long of over an hour episodes. I think he would be wanting to kill me at that
mini,
point. But yeah, it's,
probably a mini coma with like
yes,
our daily episodes to animate. I think would be next to
Yeah,
impossible for him.
yeah.
Shame. But yeah, no, I'm hoping you guys enjoyed today's episode. It's been a lot of fun for me, and talking to you as well. Like obviously for the audience, to you, Ben. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed myself, so thank you for having me. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you. And obviously, Chuck's episodes do release now on something we didn't mention, on a regular basis now, instead of just when I'm ill or unable to record for whatever reason. And Chuck thankfully steps in, but also Chuck now does a few extra episodes. So obviously, there's my 7, and it normally ends up being about 8 or 9, depend upon the week. And depend, because you will have noticed that Chuck's episodes are slightly longer than mine. So there's that as well. But yeah, please continue to support the podcast, and please let us know in the comments below what you're up to today. Actually, we'd love to hear that, and I might mention them in a future episode, but it'll be a little while till you hear that, because obviously I won't be recording episodes on Christmas Day, certainly not.
Yes.
But hence why we're recording this still in advance, but not as in advance as we want. So it is going to be little more stressful for Matt than we wanted. But yeah, you're more than welcome, Chuck, to do these, for us to do these episodes together, the two hosts of the podcast, not in the same room when you're watching, but obviously not in reality as you were. But obviously Matt's going to do some genius things that is going to make it seem that we're in the same room when we're halfway across the world from each other.
Yeah, that's the fun part, I'm sure. To make it look like it.
Yeah.
To make us like sit next to each other and I'm sure you'll have Christmas lights and all that kind of fun stuff similar to our last Christmas special. So looking forward to seeing what that's going to look like. A lot of fun stuff to look forward to. But yeah, again, thanks for the chat. It was a really good time. Anything else you want to kind of check before we go, or are you happy with today's episode?
Well, I think that we're even longer than we were the first time round, so I think we better leave it. Otherwise, it is going to be like a feature-length film at this point.
Pretty much.
But yeah, again, thanks, Chuck, for hopping on
You're welcome.
and joining. And yeah, we'll see you in a future episode of the podcast. But without further ado, remember, you can also like, comment, and subscribe. Please follow on all of the socials as well, where you can get little glimmers into extra bits and see what's being released, as well as obviously if you're on YouTube, you'll get notified by notifications when those episodes release, which is, as I assume this episode will have released at the usual time of 3 p.m. GMT, which is at the time that my episodes tend to release, and Chuck's episodes are normally a bit later on in the day. But because Chuck's episodes aren't as planned and consistent scheduling wise, that please, to find out first when they release, please consider subscribing. But without further ado, hope you enjoy the rest of the festive period, and we will see you in a future episode of the podcast. See you then. Goodbye.
Goodbye.